We're currently joined by Mr. Garg, the Director of Finance of the company. Hi, Mr. Garg. Thanks so much, sir, for joining in. We've been observing that LNG prices, they're more than doubled from the lows of this year. It was at around $4 per MMBTU. Now it's at more than $8 per MMBTU. What kind of impact it's having on your business? Prices are up, but did it have some kind of negative impact on the volumes for Petronet LNG? What does this translate to in terms of numbers?
You see that as far as the business of a Petronet LNG is concerned, we are basically based on the volume coming on the long-term contract signed by Petronet. Either the LNG directly bought by the Petronet from the long-term suppliers or the capacity booked by various parties in our terminal on use or pay basis. So our long-term prices remains as they are. They are not impacted with the spot prices moving up and down. We have seen during the last 1 or 2 months that the spot prices in the market, global market, has started rising. And this is primarily because of the winter season which is coming in. And the demand in other part of the world, like in Japan, Korea or China, has increased. And because of that, the prices are temporarily increased in the spot market. But as far as the Petronet business is concerned, since we have a committed long-term volume coming under the long-term contract, as well as the committed contract signed by various users who has to bring their volume. If they bring volume, it's fine. If they don't bring, then they are committed to pay for use or pay. So it is not really impacted as far as the utilization of the Petronet terminal is concerned.
Okay, so your procurement and sale is pre-decided by your long-term contracts, and the movement of spot LNG prices does not affect. Sir, but if you could just tell us from an industry point of view, have LNG imports come down on the back of rising LNG spot prices, because they are at 2-year highs? If you could give us some numbers on that.
I can tell you about October, November. The spot volume coming in the market remains the same. But definitely we have seen some downward trend in the month of December and likely happen in the month of January also, because the prices in the spot market have risen and the availability of volume is not that good as used to be earlier. So there will be impact on prices, and definitely it will have some impact for those who are in the market for buying of spot LNG.
All right,
we'll have to see, especially in the coming months.
Well, Mr. Garg, could you make us understand this now that crude prices, they have moved up. They're up by what, 60, 65, 70%. But LNG prices have more than doubled. What kind of relation are we seeing in terms of crude prices and LNG? If LNG is going up, faster, then are you seeing that shift towards crude? I mean, just give us your sense. Make us understand that.
You see, the maximum LNG consumption in the country is basically replacement of the crude oil.
Okay.
Whether it is going to the fertilizer sector or industries or CGD, wherever the maximum LNG is getting consumed today, RLNG getting consumed today. So if the crude prices moves up and LNG import under long-term contracts is linked with the crude prices. So if the crude price is also moving, it really doesn't matter to those consumers who are using as a replacement of crude. So when there is an increase in the crude prices, the LNG prices also moves up. And if there is a reduction in the crude prices, LNG prices comes down. Okay. But it is replacing the liquid fuel. So it is not really, doesn't matter to the consumer, because they have an alternate which is linked with the crude prices.
Okay. Are there any other fuels, because of which with the rise in LNG prices, the competitiveness could come down and maybe there could be a switch?
Maybe a little bit impact would happen that, but I am not really seeing that major impact would happen because the crude price is rising up. Only the power sector is there who is independent to the alternate fuel, because their alternative generally is the coal. So there would be some impact, but we are seeing that consumption of RLNG in power sector, regasified LNG is very, very small. It is not a big quantity that is getting consumed.
So the other big... the other big fear in the market is the fact that LNG supply is going to increase from here on. The Mundra LNG terminal gets commissioned in FY18. The Dabhol capacity will restart post the monsoon. How much of a worry is that?
You see, as I mentioned that we had just commissioned our additional 5 million ton capacity in the month of October, and now we are a 15 million ton terminal at Dahej. And as far as our commitment of 15 million ton terminal is concerned, which is committed on a long-term basis. So on the long-term import as well as the long-term capacity booking. So as far as Petronet is concerned, our business is stable, and we have a commitment of bringing LNG either from outside and selling in India on a long-term basis, or use of our capacity which is committed on a long-term basis. So we are not really much concerned about these additional facilities are coming. But on an overall basis, if you really see going forward, there is a growth and there is a requirement of more and more natural gas in the country. As we are seeing the growth is happening, and there is always a desire to make it a gas economy in the country. So I think it is a welcome step that more and more LNG facilities are getting created, and more pipelines should come in the country for more and more gas consumption.
Very quickly, Mr. Garg, Kochi, what is the capacity utilization currently, and what's the targeted capacity utilization there?
Kochi is a major concern for Petronet, and as of now, there is only one consumer who is using Kochi, that is the Kochi refinery owned by Bharat Petroleum. And flip side is that Kochi refinery has been expanded, and their consumption is likely to increase in the coming months, and there will be some more increase would happen in Kochi. But all depends Kochi when the pipeline would get connected to other markets, and which is likely to take more time, though the progress is happening in Kerala especially. The pipelines are getting late. GAIL is working on that, and let us see the outcome of those pipelines when they are ready.
Mr. Garg, thank you so much for joining in, and all the best for 2017.